Shalom, 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 Yasha'Allah. This your boy, Brother Shamwa Allah, back at you with another quick edifying video. Today's lesson is going to be called Quietly Planning. Quietly Planning. All right, first and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory. I want to say, Call Halal Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Qadash. That's all praises to the Heavenly Father, whose name is Yahawah, and his only begotten Son's name, who you ignorantly call Jesus, whose name is Yahawashi. All right, and the Holy Spirit, which is the Rawchaa. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who have ruled well through the Spirit and have fed and edified the sheep in these last days, and has pushed this gospel and this truth to the four corners of the earth in these last days. A mighty shalom. Another mighty shalom to all you Akim out there laboring on the highways and on the hedges and on the unicorn, which is this internet, pushing this 100% doctrine, this 100% truth to the four corners of the earth in these last days. A mighty shalom to you all as well. Right, like I said, today's quick lesson is going to be called Quietly Planning. All right, and this comes from the U.S. Sun. Right, it says Chase Bank, Chase Bank of America and Wells Fargo quietly planning new digital dollar after U.S. penny set to disappear. Okay, and we know what that digital, all right, what that digital is going to lead to, right? Ultimately, that digital is going to be stored in your hand and in your forehead. All right, Revelation 13 and 16. Okay, and they're planning and doing these things right beneath your nose. All right. So it says some of the largest financial institutions in the United States could be quietly planning moves away from physical cash. It says Bank of America, J.P. Morgan Chase, Citigroup, and Wells Fargo may dive into cryptocurrency amid the impending removal of the penny. It says the banks are considering the option of a joint digital dollar per payments. It says it would be operated through a stable coin, notably a form of cryptocurrency that's tied to a traditional currency, which in this case would be the US dollar. It says together they'd work to use some existing networks to facilitate transactions using the digital dollar token, such as early warning services, which operates Zelle and Clearinghouse. Let's see, Salakia. Real quick. It says the financial institutions seek to create a new infrastructure for the stablecoin so it's more regulated and secure. Then it can be used consistently by consumers for efficient digital payments. So far, stablecoin in the United States doesn't have a solid regulatory framework, which is why the banks remain exploring their options as how they could still instill one. It says Bank of America, J.P. Morgan Chase, Citigroup, and Wells Fargo are looking to create effectively the opposite of the original ethos behind cryptocurrency, which was to basically remove the institutional aspect of financial transactions while still keeping them secure. It says Bensi Rabbi, CEO and co-founder of Utila, a crypto digital asset operations platform, said this move from top banks was inevitable. It says when you think about the need of every fintech or payments company or a bank that wants to enter the stablecoin space, they need secure infrastructure from the creation of assets such as tokenizing them to holding them and, of course, moving them, Rabbi told payments. Everyone will enter the stablecoin era in the end. It says, should major banks officially get involved in stablecoin, it can bring about serious change in the crypto space and to the future of physical currency in general. It says news for the potential stablecoin also comes as the Treasury Department announced this month it will completely cease production of pennies by 2026. It says the U.S. Mint also recently placed its last order of pennies, plancets, and will be completely cease making them once they're used up. It says there won't be enough pennies left in circulation to effectively use them in everyday business transactions. It says it currently costs 4 cents to make a penny, taking away taxpayer money that could be used elsewhere. It says at least 54% of the largest coin shipments in 2024 were also pennies, which the U.S. Mint citing a loss about 83.5 million on a 3.2 billion produced. It says that's the 19th consecutive year the government has lost money making pennies. It says it also is not the first time a coin has been discontinued in the United States. Back in 1857, the half cent was removed by Congress. Still, there are some exceedingly rare versions of pennies. Okay, you can get into that. All right. But ultimately, what we want is that they're quietly in the background. They're setting up and getting ready for this digital currency. Okay, they're getting ready to implement this digital currency system. Okay, let's get a couple of scriptures real quick. Like I said, we're not gonna make this too long, right? But we're not ignorant to it, okay? Because we continue to watch these things, okay? To watch what's going on. All right. Matter of fact, before I get this, let's go to the Apocrypha, right? Let's go to 2 Esdras 15, verse number 1. It says, "Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, saith Yahawah Bahasham, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true." Okay? And the things that we see, going on, right, have already been prophesied. Okay? And that's why, and knowing this, we're not ignorant. All right? Like the scriptures say. Let's get that. 2 Corinthians 2 and verse 11, it says, "Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices." All right, we're not ignorant of his devices, right? And we know how this this devil operates, right? Talking about those top banking families, those elites, on down. All right, we know their mindset and the things that they're doing, right? Because ultimately we know that this is, pushing in to the NWO. All right. This is Micah chapter 2 and verse 1. It says, "Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is lit, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand." Okay, so they try to move in the darkness. They're trying to move quietly, right? And you see the title, right? They're quietly, pushing this digital system, right? Because ultimately they know, where this is going. This is leading to, a cashless society. The cashless is, eventually with the digital, it's going to be what? It's going to go into that RFID chip, all right, that we've been talking about, all right? Revelation 13 and 16, okay? That no man might buy or sell save he that have that mark, okay? And that's what's coming, okay? And we're not ignorant to that, so we see and we're watching the moves as it plays out, right? It's like, ultimately it's like Neo in the Matrix, and you can see all this stuff, right, going on. All right, let's go to Habakkuk 2 and verse number 1. It says, "I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower, and I will watch to see what he shall say unto me and what I shall answer when I am reproved. Okay? And you set upon your watch and you're a watchman. All right? So you're watching for, any signs, any things of danger so you can warn the people. That's what we're doing. All right? I see this article. Oh, let's go out and let's inform and warn the people, right? To understand, right? That this is coming. This is what's leading. This is the start of what's leading up, what's going to be leading up to Revelation 13 and 16. All right. The push of digital. And even at this point, we already know. All right. Most people don't even carry cash, with them. They usually have a card, right? Their phone, their different things. But ultimately, this is going to be all this stuff is information, not only, your payment stuff, but all your other stuff is going to be what? Your identification, your medicals, all this stuff is going to be ultimately in that micro chip, right? That's going to be in your hand or in your forehead. All right. It's going to be digital. It says, and Yahawah, Bahasham, answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. It says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time. It says, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. Okay? And we're in that point where this thing is about to all jump off, right? I was watching the brother from Saints of New Jersey, right? And he brought out how Walmart, is now, they have this thing where you have to in certain stores where you have to buy this card, this membership in order to use the self-checkout. Okay. And how all that is going to be used to track, right? Because now all of a sudden now you have the card, right? You got to pay $98 just to self-checkout and the different things. But ultimately, this is all this technology, all this stuff is leading, to that tracking, okay? That tracking of the buying and selling and ultimately of you, okay? So it says, because it will surely come, it will not tarry, okay? And we're in that part where, this is coming, right? And it's coming quickly, okay? We see this taking place. All right, let's ultimately go to it, right? For those who might be under a rock or not knowing, right? Let's go to the book of Revelation. And we're going to go to Revelation chapter 13 and verse number 16. It says, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Okay? And that mark, right? Go to it. That mark is Qadash, right?
Strong's G 5480.
Karagma, right? Which means it's a stamped, imprinted mark, of mark stamped on. It says a mark branded upon thing, carved, sculptured, graven work, right? Idolatrous image, right? But that thing carved is a physical thing. All right, we go through it again. The root word karax, right? It says to sharpen to a point, through the idea of scratching, right? It says a pail or a stake. Okay, so this is a physical thing. Okay, and this thing is the RFID chip. They're going to use the device to basically impale it and to get into your, in your head or in your hand and in your forehead, right? To implant what this mark, okay, which is the RFID chip. All right. So, the plan for them to go digital is on point because they're going to eventually, have it where you don't need a card. You're not going to need any. All that's going to be in that saith, and you're just going to swipe your hand, and the technology is all there. All this stuff is already here. That's what I say. Though it tarry, wait for it. Right, it shall surely come, and we see it getting ready to take place right now. All right, so these are just more steps of these elites. Starting with these top banking families on down. Pushing towards their NWO. All right, pushing towards this new era, right, where they want to have everybody, mandatory, C-hipped, okay, and this digital part is all part of it, okay. You look at a penny like, oh, that's a penny is nothing, right? But it's the start of what we see going on, okay? So I just want to do this quick lesson. Lord's will, this was edifying, right? With that, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory. I want to say, call Halal Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Qadash. Peace and blessings to the elect of the 12 tribes scattered abroad. A mighty shalom to the 144,000 men, right? Double honors to the apostles and elders. Great millstone will ruled well to the spirit and have fed and edified the sheep in these last days. Another mighty shalom to the rest of the elect out there. Stay diligent, stay focused, keep watching, all right? And be not ignorant, all right? Continue to watch and see what's going on, all right? Because this devil is trying to do stuff, under your nose, right? They're not really talking about this, on a lot of mainstream stuff, right? Because this is going to pop up on people, just how they've slowly worked in, just having the cards and the tapping and different things. Okay, so just beware. All right, it's coming. All right, and with that, I say shalom.